Hey everyone, it's Peter from Rock Daydream Nation, and I've got John the Music Nut back to the channel. How are you, John?
I'm doing well, Peter. How about you?
I'm doing well, doing well. Today we are going to put a spotlight on two albums, solo albums that Phil did in respectively 1980 and 1982. And we're talking about Solo in Soho and also the Philip Lynott album. So, as usual, we'll talk about the songs, the performances, all things Phil Lynott, and maybe a little bit of Thin Lizzy, do a bit of a comparison and give our verdict of which album we prefer. So, I'll just start off with this question before we tuck into the album. Did you have any familiarity with these albums and the songs in the day or prior to doing this show?
Not at all in the day, and only very, very recently did I check these albums out. I don't own them. I only checked them out on Spotify. And the only reason I really listened to them is when I was doing my Thin Lizzy series on my own channel, John the Music Nut. I had people commenting, talking about his solo stuff. And as that went on over it was like a year ago or so, I was getting more and more comments about that and people saying, maybe you should check them out. And I was like, okay, I'll get to them. And I did eventually check them out.
I had some vague familiarity with one or two of the songs that may have charted in Australia or being played on video hits or maybe on the radio. So there's kind of a skerrit of some sort of a hint, a memory, but nothing really definite. And in respect of Thin Lizzy, I was just reflecting this morning. I think as I get older, I love this band even more. Every day, they have definitely gone up in my rankings as one of my favorite bands of all time. And, I wasn't a huge Lizzy fan when I was a teenager, but I think it's, I don't know, just a maturity type thing. Every day, I just respect and love this band even more. And I think you feel the same way, don't you?
I do. Well, what happened with my upbringing is we rarely heard Thin Lizzy on the radio here. I got into Lizzy in my 30s, and it was more on my own because all we heard were songs off of Jailbreak on Rock 107 back in the day. So I went and I picked up a best of, and then I bought Jailbreak, and then from then on I just kept building and building. But I had you rarely heard them here, so it was something that I had to do on my own.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, why don't we start off with a solo in Soho? So this came out in 1980. It was recorded in the winter of 1979. It's kind of a bit of a reunion of Thin Lizzy because a lot of the Thin Lizzy folks do play on the album. So you've got folks such as Scott Gorham, Snowy White, Gary Moore, and there's a lot of special guest stars, like there's Huey Lewis, Jimmy Bain, Midger. And I think the first thing you notice about this album is sonically, it is that you can hear the Lizzy universe, but sonically there is a lot of experimentation. There's a lot of different genres and a lot of different styles. There's new wave, there's pop. I should have said pop first and foremost. There's a little bit of reggae. There's a little bit of funk. He is exploring a lot of musical genres that maybe he felt that he was confined in Thin Lizzy, that he couldn't explore. Theme-wise, it does cover a lot of the typical type of Phil Lynott, songs about rogues and rascals, social observational, storytelling, and matters of the heart. Why don't we talk about some songs? I'll throw it to you. What's the first song that you'd like to spotlight on Solo in Soho?
Okay, Tattoo, giving it all up for your love. This was recorded in 1980. In 1977, this would have sounded like a fresh disco song with The vocals on it, the string arrangements, the funk bass lines. It's catchy. If you like disco, you would dig this song. And Phil sounds great on it. Now, does it sound like Thin Lizzy? Not by a long shot, but it's a well written song. Interestingly, you have another cool chorus on here, but the chorus is very disco with the giving up, that repeating that line over and over. That was a big disco thing. So it's a pretty cool tune, but you just have to think to yourself, this is not Thin Lizzy. Phil sounds good on it. And I think we're going to go into a pattern here with Phil's voice on these songs. Because the songs aren't so much based on rock, he doesn't have screaming guitars that he has to sing over anymore. So he sounds stronger on these albums, I think, particularly the one we're talking about, than what he was doing at the time with Thin Lizzy.
Yeah, what I notice, he uses different vocal rhythms. He's very
That's true.
experimental with his voice. So normally in Thin Lizzy, he's very conversational in his
Mm-hmm.
the way he delivers the vocals. It's like he's telling you a story, and you know there is a certain amount of vocal ability, but in a lot of these songs, he has to croon a little bit more. He has to sing a little bit more, and one thing that's prevalent is very unusual rhythmic patterns, different vocal phrasing. And I'll give you an example, Dear Miss Lonely Hearts, which is the first song of the album. And
Sure.
it's basically a pop song, but there is a Lizzie sensibility in the wheelhouse because, you know, let's face it, you've got Scott Gorham, Snowy White laying the guitar tracks, and you've got Brian Downey on drums. So you've got basically the backline of Thin Lizzy, but it's through a prism of a pop song. And, you know, the vocals is conversational, but it's kind of, it's sing-songy, but there's a
Mm-hmm.
vocal rhythm where he's laying down the words in between the notes. It's kind of unusual. And there's a lot of this in this album as we get deeper in, where in some cases he's kind of scatty and singing multiple words in a very short space of time. I like this song. The lyrics, I had to write this letter. It's a romantic dilemma as he writes to advice columnist, get some advice on his love life and his romance. And I love how he puts it into that kind of perspective. And it's interesting, it got a co-write with Jimmy Bain. So Jimmy Bain gets a bit of a co-write, and he does play on this album. So I like it a lot. It pops out. What do you think of this song?
This is one of the best songs on the album. I could see why this was a hit in the UK. Now, it is one of the songs on here that you have guitars, although we get the guitars, but we're not getting the unison guitars like we had in Lizzie. But again, it's a more of a rock theme here. Love the chorus on it. And everything you were saying about the vocal rhythms, I totally agree with. Like this song really jumped out at me upon the first listen. And as I continue to listen to this, this is truly one of the standouts on here.
Yeah. And with the guitars are not engineered or produced that they overpower the song, that it gets too much Lizzie. You know, it's way back. And the song and the guitar work services the song. So it's not as if it's like, oh, okay, you know, they're putting a shining light on the guitars. The shining light
Right.
is on Phil and the song itself.
Exactly.
So I think it's a great start to the album. All right, what's the next song that you would like to put a spotlight on?
Ode to a Black Man. Okay, this is more of a rocker compared to a lot of the songs on here, but you got strings in the background and you got some keyboards on it. More of a rave up, I think. This track has Huey Lewis on it on harmonica. One of two tracks that we have Huey on. This was before most people didn't know who Huey was. Huey wasn't having hits at this point yet. So this is pretty cool feel on here. It's very driving, and it's a very cool tune. Very cool lyrically as well.
Absolutely, I agree to you. And Huey Lewis plays some wonderful harmonica actually on this album, and I think on the next album as well. Really,
Mhm.
really tuneful and melodic. The next song I want to cover is, in my opinion, my favorite song on the album, and it's King's Call. To me,
Okay.
I listened to this and I thought, oh, Dire Straits. And who's
Yes.
playing? Nifty, subtle control guitar work, Mark Knopfler.
That's right.
I like it. It's a really heartfelt tribute to the King, Elvis Presley, because Phil Lynott is a huge Elvis fan. And lyrically just talks about how the passing of the King affected him. So I think it's a great song. To me, it's like classic Dire Straits has somehow infiltrated the Thin Lizzy world.
Yes.
It's got Phil's wordplay, those wonderful vocal rhythms. I love it. And this is reminds me of the classic era of Dire Straits. Those first couple albums were so good,
Yes,
except
they
No
were.
Substitute. What do you think of this song?
The same the same vibe as you here. I mean, it has Mark Knopfler's on it. You hear him. He's one of the most distinct guitar players you'll ever hear. As soon as you hear Mark, you know it's him. It's more of a pop rock song here. It doesn't, you don't have heavy guitars. You just have Mark on here, and it sounds very, very tasteful. The production rings it in a little bit. Like I said, it's a little more pop. Nice chorus on it. And again, I love the lyrics on here, and I like Phil's delivery on this song as well. You can see why this was a number 35 hit in the UK. So there
Yeah,
you go.
absolutely. It should have actually done better, but great
Mm-hmm.
song. I think it's my favorite. Fantastic. All right, what's the next pick that you'd like to put a spotlight on?
Okay, Talking 79.
I'm going to cover this as well. What an interesting track this is. Tell us about
It
it.
is very funky, very spoken word. You finally got Bill playing some Phil, not Bill, Phil playing some funky bass on here. We got Mark Nassif on drums on here. I always like the drums are on here really strong, but it doesn't sound like Brian Downey. It's Mark Nassif. He played on the tour in Australia in 79 because I have that on a DVD. It was during it would have been the Black Rose tour.
Yeah, in front of the
Mark
opera,
Nassif,
Sydney Opera House. What a
that
cracker
was
of
it.
a concert. Check that out. It's on YouTube, and I think you can get it on DVD. Worth getting.
Yes, exactly. Well, I saw it on YouTube, and then later on, I found a DVD and I bought that. But yes, Talking 79 is interesting because we got this funk groove going on, and it's more Phil reading from a news report. It's an interesting track talking about what's going on today in 79. And this is the song that ends the album. Outside of the little funk edge, it doesn't sound at all like Thin Lizzy, but it's a very interesting track.
I think it's super nifty and a lot
Mm.
of fun. He's just doing this bouncy rap, noting all the bands, which was effectively his competition. And I think it's a
Mm.
little bit of a dig at how fickle the music business is.
That's
You know, like, am I in step with the fashions? If you look at the wordplay, it's really interesting. Like the Clash were headed for a head-on collision, Crash for complete control. The Pistols left behind a swindle and a scandal that nobody wished to handle. And he names various bands, and in no particular order, bands like Sham 69, Generation X, Nick Lowe, Elvis Costello and the Attractions, Joe Jackson, Dave Edmunds, Rockpile, Devo, Boomtown Rap, Steve Strange, Ultravox, Kraftwerk, The Slits, Buzzcocks, John Cooper Clarke, Public Image Limited, Police, Rocky Horror Show, Nina Hagen, Stranglers. I
place.
think I've
Whoops.
covered. I think I've covered it all.
I didn't pick up all that. Wow.
Yeah, and the final two lines in the song, and before we knew it, the old wave were gone and controlled. So it's a little bit of a dig. I love it. Great way to finish the album, and it's just
Very cool.
the playing's really tight. It's nifty. So okay, you got another one?
Yeah, let's talk about the title song. You mentioned reggae before. This is very reggae. And if you think about 1980, reggae was getting in a lot of rock bands. You had a little
Huge.
bit of rock. Yes, I mean, you had a lot of reggae with the Police, but you got a little bit of Rush, little bit of reggae and Rush. You had a little bit of reggae and Scorpions at this point. This is more reggae than what this is. This is almost pure reggae here. This is more Bob Marley, Peter Tosh thing going on here.
Mm,
Phil sounds great on here. You were talking about the wonderful wordplay on Talking 79. You got tons of great wordplay on this track. Phil sounds excellent on there on this song. This is a very catchy song on here. And in the beginning, we got a little bit of harmonic on this one, I believe, if I'm correct.
yeah. I I love that Phil uses dialogue, snippets of dialogue on
Mm-hmm.
this album. It really gives it a kind of a documentary feel. It's sort of like album come documentary type social commentary. And the first lines on this is a an English lady, a young lady, who says, "I'm out on the streets every day. I'm a clapped out whore." Wow, that is so confrontational between the eyes. So this song is about him addressing a lady who perhaps gives her love to all the other guys, but not him, a prostitute perhaps. This was Roxanne, maybe before
Yeah.
Roxanne or around the same time. So this is his take on it. The lyrics: "Stop cutting, stop hurting, stop this dirt about you lifting up your skirt to any man dressed in pants with shirt buttons undone and flirting." Very between your eyes, very confrontational. Vocal rhythm patterns, they kind of stop and start. And then he's got this rapid fire riffing of words. And I think his voice is perfect for reggae. He's in the groove. There are some artists that appropriated reggae and they just weren't quite with it. It was
Yes.
obvious they were just, cashing in. But he seemed this kind of fits him like a glove. So I think it's perfect. This is another strong track. I love it.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
Um, I'll jump in because this is so out of the box sonically of what you would expect Phil to do, and this is Yellow Pearl. This
Yes.
is a co-write between Phil and Midger. I put this well into the category of new wave synth pop, and I put in brackets Ultravox.
Yes.
You've got a hooky keyboard melody line, and you've got blips and sequencer lines. Man, it sounds like an Ultravox track, and you've got the robotic vocoder processing, and then we're going to Gary Newman territory. What do you think of this song?
Well, it's as unlike Thin Lizzy as anything. I it is it's straight up new wave synth pop ultravox, and amidst everything going on, you don't hear Phil very much. Like he's getting buried underneath this cacophony of sounds here, but it is very catchy. He's singing through a vocoder. Phil was singing through a vocoder a little bit on those later albums, like on "Do Anything You Want to." He certainly did it on there. He did it on the song "Angel Death" on "Renegade." So he had experience with this, but it's catchy. But don't expect Thin Lizzy at all here, outside of Phil's voice, which almost plays like a background vocal instead of a lead vocal. But and this was the theme of the Top of the Pops show in the UK.
I think it's a wow for me. I love it. I think it's great, and it should have been a huge hit. Yes, I know it's like an Irish music show or a children's show. I believe that it does the theme song. I like it. I like it a lot, and yeah, again, he is a chameleon. He is a chameleon. He can go from one musical genre to the next, and it is like seamless, very slinky. He fits in. it just, to me, this is just another diverse song on this album, and it doesn't stick out. And as an outlier that offends me, or I think, oh gee, I think he's biting off more he can chew. I just find this album completely brave, adventurous, and he's just trying a different musical genre, and I think it works. So hold your opinion. We'll take that to the end. Can I put another one to you? Girls. So this is a co-write between Phil, Jimmy Bain again, and Brian Robertson. Again, this is one where it's got snippets of various women dialogue that are injected into the song, and it's a lyrical celebration of all the girls that Phil had enjoyed being a rogue, a rascal in the rock scene. He's very much a man about the town. But this is a very keyboardy song. You've got synth bass. It's pop music. What do you think of this song?
Well, it's pop music, and I do like the chorus and a bridge on it, but it's weird that you see it was written by Jimmy, Phil, and Brian, and you would never know that by listening to the song. Again, what you said is very true. You have a lot of women talking here in dialogue, and it's a celebration of Phil and the ladies. And I mean, it's synth pop. And I mean, it's okay for what it is. I can admire that there are some things on here that I like. And Phil does sound strong on it. I like Yellow Pearl a little more, even though you don't hear as much of Phil, but I like it.
Good stuff. All right. Well, why don't we turn our eyes to the next album, the Philip Lynott album. Bit of a clunky title, really. This came out in 1982. Basically, if you look at the cast that were playing on it, it's very similar to Solo and Soho. You've got the same sort of folks that are writing, contributing, and we'll cover that as we go through the album. So straight off the bat, what's the first song that you'd like to spotlight off this album?
Well, I think Old Town is wonderful. This
It's beautiful. I think this is his best. I'm sorry, I'm stealing your thunder. I think it's his best
that's
solo
okay.
song. It's his best solo
Good.
song. It's his best solo song, isn't it? It'd have to be.
Oh, in my opinion, easily. This was a single. This is just so good. It's so well written. Very classy piano solo on here. Phil sounds fantastic. It's just a wonderful song written from more of a personal standpoint. And it's just everything in it works perfectly. It deserved a better fate. It should have been like a huge hit for Phil Lynott. And but it just everything about it. It's just a well-written pop song, wonderfully written lyrically and musically.
Paul McCartney would die for a song like this.
Yes.
It's got that Baroque Beatles Penny Lane feel about it. I love the Baroque keyboards. I love the horn sequence. It reminds me of the outro of All You Need Is Love.
Mm-hmm.
It's this guy is such a gifted musician, songwriter. So if you think he's just four on the floor, hard rock, and he comes up with something like this, magnificent. And co-write with Jimmy Bain, terribly underrated. It's a heartfelt song. It talks about a breakdown of a romance. The girl's a fool. She broke the rule. She hurt him hard. This time you will break down. She's lost his trust, and so she must. All is lost. The system has broke down. Romance has broke down. He was a gifted lyricist. I don't think he gets the rap he deserves. I was one of the contributing writers to a book on Thin Lizzy that Martin Popoff did, which I'll put up. And I covered a couple of the albums of the early 70s, and a lot of it I was just focused on the lyrics. And I just think that's a particular area that people just don't talk about enough, how gifted he was with wordplay and vocal delivery. So, and Old Town is just, yeah, the lyrics are just so spot on. Great
Mhm.
choice.
Thank you.
Um, I'm going to go with the album opener. Now, it's called Fatalistic Attitude. I don't think it's terribly successful, but I do have to highlight it because it is a very strange album opener. When you have a first track on an album, you want it to pop out and draw you in, but this one is a little bit confrontational. It's very wordy. It really works the listener. And to me, it's not ear candy that draws you into the album. If you heard this, you go, oh, I'm not sure if I want to hear the rest of the album. It starts off with a gentle synth line. There's a drum machine. You've got all these cheap percussive effects, like synth effects, like cymbal crashes. There's talkback radio dialogue at the start. And the wordplay is it focuses on these two individuals, Betty and Johnny, and they're dealing with mental and health struggles. So I know Phil around this time was going through some addiction issues and going through a very dark time. Now, I remember the previous album, Chinatown, he was right into his heroin addiction and there was a lot going in his personal life. I think a lot of this album is the residual of that. He's still dealing with a lot of personal and health issues. And this is a very dark, a pitch black song to start off the album. And sonically, this album is a pop album. And I don't know, maybe I would have placed it somewhere else in the album, in the song set, but it's just very strange that this is the opening track, and it is a little bit of a struggle for me to enjoy. What do you think of this song?
Um, just same as you, and more so. The phone call intro with the boop boop reminds me of hanging on the telephone or another brick in the wall. And then we go into this synth heavy production and those electronic drums. And to me, it's a bit to get through. I'm not really into this track at all. I certainly don't think it leaves a good impression as your first track either. Yeah, this is one of my least favorite songs on here.
Start off with Old Town. Start off with Old Town. Second
Yes.
track, The Man's a Fool. Fatalistic
Yes.
Attitude. Maybe put it in later in the album. It belongs there, and I don't deny it's got artistic worth. But as the opening track, it's for a pop album, and let's face this is a pop album. Very strange. So I do question that.
Yes.
All right, what's the next one that you want to spotlight?
Together. More funk bass, or is this synth bass? This is more of a dance track. To me, it sounds like early Cure, like a song like The Walk. That's what this song reminds me of. We got splashes of synth on here. Not as organic as early Cure, but it's catchy. It's pretty good. Again, it's more of a funk end to it, but it's one of the songs that I like on here the most.
Yeah, I hear Ultravox because it's got Midger. He appears on this one. He plays keyboards, guitar. I think it's very new romantic. It's got a lot of those new romantic
Right.
flourishes where a lot of the synth lines were getting quite baroque. I love the edgy, pulsating guitars. So, yeah, I like it. This is a track that belongs on the start of side two. It makes you want to hear the rest of the album. It pops out of the speakers. Yeah, this is a good song. Um, Another song that I want to focus, and it's The Man's a Fool. Hello, Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Yes.
You got the staccato strings and the warm, silky delivery of the lyrics by Phil. He's putting his, disco 77 hat on. I like it. Are you
That's
ready
how
for the
I
dance floor on this song?
Yes, exactly. That's how I feel. Very late 70s R&B, much like Earth, Wind and Fire on here. It does have a cool driving disco beat to it. Phil's being drowned out a little bit here again by the proceedings, but it's a catchy tune. Very good.
Well, yeah, it is hooky, and you could hear it in your head, can't you?
Oh yeah.
It doesn't outstay its welcome. 2 minutes and 58. So yeah, no, I like it. I like it a lot. What's your next one?
Okay, my next one is going to be definitely a little bit of an outlier. Growing Up. Very elegant ballad on here. We got nice piano playing, and we got some nice sax on here. This isn't my cup of tea musically. This isn't exactly what I'm into, but I can respect the fact that this is a well written song. Again, very autobiographical, but he's talking more. I'm wondering if he's talking about his daughter here.
I think he is.
Yes,
He,
I think, yeah,
yeah,
he might be talking about his Sarah here, like he would
yeah.
have been on Black Rose.
I think he
So,
is 100%.
right. And so this really works well. We got the female backing vocals on here, which are very, very elegant. So yes, I like this song definitely. But
I
even
like
if
it.
it my wheelhouse.
I like it. I think it's delicate. It shows his fragile emotional side, and yeah, I think for what it's worth, it's one of the strongest songs on the album. I like it a lot. I'm going to pick a really weird song, and this is a probably one of the most oblique songs on the album. A little bit impenetrable, especially when you read the lyrics, and that's Gino.
Okay.
So it starts off with the lyric, "All right, are you ready for this? This is big news." Now, I looked at the lyrics. It's really stream of consciousness because it's not his usual storytelling. Is it about a drug pimp? Is it about a religious figure? Because in between the funk, the soul, and the synth pop, there's all these snippets of a religious preacher. And first listening, you go, was it Martin Luther King? But it's somebody else. Um, the sound collages are very interesting because they're kind of religious sermons. But musically, I like it because the bass is doubled. The drumming is crisp, Michael Youssef, and the rhythms are slightly a little bit off, but it all works quite well. But it's just the lyrics are very, very strange and oblique. I'll quote you a lyric. Even so, but the cat that's got the dough, he's got a cool expression. You know it's Gino. You know it's Gino. Saying brother to brother, hate one another, sister to father. Yeah, it's a strange lyric. I think it's very stream of consciousness, but it's interesting. What do you think of this song? I think it's a bit of an outlier.
It is. It's not one of my favorites, to be honest. It's spoken word. I think the rhythm is a little too repetitive for me. The lyric is, yeah, the lyric is a little different for Phil, and I mean that really did grab me when I was checking this out and listening to this repeatedly over the last few weeks here. It's not one of my favorite tracks on here. I will say that.
Yep, yep. So all in all, I think this album's got some really interesting, good tracks. But the word that comes to me, it's a bit more gritty lyrically. I don't know. It's got
Lyrically, yeah.
a bit more grime on this album. So I'll throw it over to you. Solo in Soho, 1980 versus the Philip Lynott album of 1982. What is your preferred album and why?
Solo and Soho, for many of the reasons that you said. It is a more positive album. It's a sunnier album. It's probably a more eclectic album as well. I think he sounds stronger on the album too. I think a lot of that had to do with how he was living during this time. There's a lot more on here on Solo and Soho that I appreciate. More eclectic album too. I mean, it's it was released in 80, but you hear a lot of late 70s musical genres on here. You got the synth, you got the synth pop, you got the R&B, you got the reggae, you got the funk. I think Solo and Soho works better overall. Yes, much and better written songs in my opinion.
Thanks for that. I agree. I think Solo in Soho for the win. I think it's a 9 out of 10 album. I think it's really it's bloody good. It's a very very good album, and I would definitely put this against any of the Lizzie albums in the discography. He's
Okay.
got a very expansive musical palette. There's great songwriting. The production's good, and when I say sunny, I'm sort of saying sunnier production because a lot of the lyrics are just the usual, there's a lot of darkness and storytelling of a darker nature. But I just find that the Philip Lynott album, I don't know, it's a little bit grimmer, a bit more grimier, maybe on the production side. And I don't think the songs are as strong, although it does have arguably Phil's greatest song on that album. Um,
So,
yeah, so I'd give the Phil Lynott album probably a 7, but Solo and Soho, I'd give it a strong 9. And
okay,
I've really enjoyed these two albums. It's been fun revisiting.
yeah, you're a little higher on them. I would go 7 and 5.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, I go 7 and 5 with these. Solo and Soho is something that I could see myself revisiting. The
Yeah,
Phil Lynott album, not so much.
yeah. Okay, fair enough. All right. Well, wonderful having you on the channel. John and I are doing more shows in 2026. We'll plot offline as to our next adventure. It'll be just around the corner. Please like and subscribe to Rock Daydream Nation. Tell us what you think of these two albums. We love reading your comments. If you want to give us a suggestion for a Thin Lizzy album or something in the Thin Lizzy universe to cover, more than happy because, as I said, every day I'm getting more and more into it. There it is. There's the book. Read it. It's a goodie.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So wonderful to have you on the channel. See you soon.
Thank
John the
you.
Music Nut. All the best and cheers.
Cheers.